At the final hole, Cook needed to find the green, but the pressure proved too great. He would make a bogey.
I'm really proud of what I accomplished. A little bit disappointed I didn't capture a major championship or two. That's really the only disappointment. I won a lot. I lost a lot. I lost a ton, but I did win a lot. 1992 Open Championship at Muirfield, I thought was mine. Coming down the stretch, I had Sir Nick Faldo pretty much beat. And then I pretty much beat up on myself.
John Cook stood on the 18th hole at Muirfield with a major championship in his hands. 2 holes earlier, he led by 2 shots. Now he was about to lose by 1. The PGA would destroy his confidence. But his real tragedy was still decades away. This is the story of a man who thought missing a 2-foot putt was the worst thing that could happen to him. He was wrong. John Cook was born on October 2, 1957. By 1992, he had built a strong career on the PGA Tour. He won 11 times. He made millions. He was respected, but he had never won a major championship. That haunted him every single day. The 1992 Open Championship at Muirfield was his best chance. Cook arrived in Scotland playing the best golf of his life. He had already won 3 times that season: the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic, the United Airlines Hawaiian Open, the Las Vegas Invitational. He was confident. He was ready. Nick Faldo started the final round with a 4-shot lead. Faldo was hunting his 3rd Open Championship in 6 years. He shot a 64 in the second round. He set a new 36-hole record of 130 strokes. Everyone assumed Faldo would cruise to victory, but major championships are different. The pressure is different. Faldo started leaking shots on the back 9. His lead was shrinking. Cook saw his opportunity. On the 15th hole, Cook made birdie. On the 16th, he made par while Faldo struggled. Suddenly, with just 4 holes left to play, John Cook held a 2-shot lead over one of the greatest golfers in the world. He was 4 holes away from immortality. The 17th hole changed everything. Cook had a short birdie putt, just 2 feet. He missed it. Then he 3-putted for par. Faldo made his 4. In 1 hole, half of Cook's lead disappeared. The momentum shifted. The pressure became unbearable. Cook later said the pressure was so great he could barely think. Faldo described it as moving from almost a disaster to the absolute ultimate. But for Cook, it was just disaster. Walking to the 18th tee, Cook's hands were shaking. His mind was racing. Every thought was contaminated by fear. This was the moment he had dreamed about his entire life. This was why he practiced thousands of hours. This was why he sacrificed everything for golf. And now, standing on the final hole of the oldest golf tournament in the world, he could feel it slipping away. Faldo had reset his mind. He told himself to forget about the whole week and play the best 4 holes of his life. That's what champions do. They compartmentalize. They focus only on what's directly in front of them. They don't let the weight of history crush them. Cook couldn't do that. The pressure wasn't just about this tournament. It was about his entire career. It was about proving he belonged among the greats. It was about silencing every doubt he ever had about himself. That's too much weight for anyone to carry in a single moment. The 18th hole finished him. Cook missed the green. He pulled out a 2-iron and hit it into the gallery on the right side. He made bogey. Faldo made par. Cook lost by 1 stroke. 1 single stroke separated John Cook from everything he ever wanted. After the round, Cook didn't blame the conditions. He didn't blame bad luck. He called it a mental mistake. He said it had nothing to do with anything else. He owned the failure completely. That decision would torture him for decades. If you're watching this, you understand what it means to see someone so close to greatness. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time you came close to something important and lost it. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now, because this story gets much more intense. Cook finished tied for 2nd at the PGA Championship later that year. Again, he couldn't win. He became known as the nearly man, the guy who almost won majors but never did. That label stuck to him like a scar. Years later, Cook admitted the 1992 Open was the biggest disappointment of his career. He said he put extra pressure on himself in majors. He felt disgusted. He felt embarrassed. The weight of that one day never left him. But here's the thing, Cook didn't quit. He kept playing. He kept winning. He won his last PGA Tour event in 2001. When he turned 50 and joined the Champions Tour in 2007, he won in just his 2nd start. He would win 10 times on the senior circuit. He was still an elite player. The problem wasn't his skill, it was his mind. Every time he played in a major, the ghost of Muirfield followed him. He felt he had a lot to prove. He felt he let major championships go. That burden made it impossible to perform under the unique pressure of a major. He sabotaged himself with extra pressure. The pattern was obvious to everyone watching. Cook would play brilliantly in regular tournaments. He would be confident, aggressive, fearless. But when the major championship started, something changed. His swing tightened, his decisions became cautious. He second-guessed everything. The scar tissue from 1992 was controlling him. Other players noticed it too. They could see the weight Cook carried. Some felt sorry for him, others saw it as weakness. But everyone understood that Cook's greatest opponent wasn't the other players, it wasn't the course, it wasn't the conditions. It was himself. He was fighting a battle inside his own head, and he was losing. Sports psychologists have a term for what happened to Cook. They call it the yips. It's when a traumatic failure creates such a deep psychological block that the athlete can't perform the same skill anymore. Golfers get the yips with putting. Baseball players get it with throwing. Cook had the yips with major championships. His body knew how to play golf, but his mind wouldn't let him. What makes it even sadder is that Cook had the talent to win multiple majors. His swing was pure. His course management was excellent. His competitive record proved he could win under pressure. 11 PGA Tour victories don't happen by accident. 10 Champions Tour titles don't happen by luck. Cook was legitimately one of the best players of his generation, but one moment destroyed his confidence in the biggest tournaments. One missed putt, one wrong club, one stroke. That's all it took to create a psychological prison he couldn't escape. Cook's competitive tragedy wasn't losing one tournament. It was the lasting psychological damage that kept him from ever winning another major. The missed putt, the wrong club, the self-blame. It created scar tissue that never healed. For 24 years, that was John Cook's defining story. The man who choked at Muirfield, the nearly man, the guy who couldn't handle pressure. And then 2016 happened. Cook started feeling pain in his lower right abdomen. He also had a fever. He thought it was food poisoning, maybe a virus. He didn't go to the doctor. He just waited for it to pass. It didn't pass. Over the next 9 months, Cook's belly started growing. His wife thought he was drinking too much beer. Cook thought he was just gaining weight. But something much worse was happening inside his body. Tumors were spreading through his abdomen. Thick mucus was filling the space around his organs. His appendix had likely ruptured 9 months earlier. He had ignored it. Now the cancer was everywhere. When Cook finally went to the emergency room, doctors were confused. They looked at the scans and saw tumors and mucus they couldn't identify. They told him they didn't know what it was. They didn't know how to deal with it. Cook had appendiceal cancer, one of the rarest cancers in the world. It affects only 1 to 2 people per million every year. Most people have never heard of it. Most doctors have never treated it. The cancer had spread to the peritoneum, the membrane lining his abdominal cavity. It was secreting a thick, gel-like substance. The medical term is pseudomyxoma peritoni. It's slow-growing but deadly, and by the time it's diagnosed, it's usually too late. Cook had ignored the warning signs, just like he ignored the pressure on the 18th hole at Muirfield. Just like he made a mental mistake with his club selection. Now he had made another mistake. This one could kill him. Doctors referred him to the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Specialists reviewed his scans. They recognized the disease. They told him there was only one option: surgery, radical surgery. On May 12, 2016, John Cook underwent a 12-hour procedure. It was called cytoreductive surgery with hyperthermic intraperitoneal chemotherapy. The doctors called it CRS plus HIPEC. Cook was the first patient at the hospital to receive this treatment. Here's what they did. First, they opened his entire abdomen. They removed every visible tumor. They scraped away the mucus attached to his organs. This part alone took hours. Dr. Shannon Orr led the surgical team. She described the process simply. We take out everything, give him the chemo, then put him back together again. After removing the tumors, they flooded his abdomen with heated chemotherapy. The heat made the chemo more effective. It killed any microscopic cancer cells left behind. Cells that had no place to hide, no sutures to hide behind. The survival rate for this procedure ranges from 23% to 82%. The risk of major complications is 24%. Cook was fighting for his life on an operating table for 12 straight hours. The surgery itself was brutal. CRS requires surgeons to remove portions of the peritoneum, the tissue lining the abdomen. Sometimes they have to remove parts of organs, the spleen, sections of the intestines, anything the cancer has touched. It's not a surgery, it's a battlefield. Dr. Orr and her team worked with precision. Every tumor had to be removed. Every trace of mucus had to be scraped away. If they left even a small amount behind, the cancer would return. The stakes were absolute. This wasn't about winning or losing. This was about living or dying. After hours of surgical removal, they began the HIPEC phase. They filled Cook's abdomen with heated chemotherapy solution. The temperature was carefully controlled, hot enough to kill cancer cells, not so hot that it damaged healthy tissue. The solution circulated through his abdomen for over an hour. It reached places systemic chemotherapy could never reach. It destroyed cancer cells that had no place to hide. Then came the hardest part, putting everything back together, closing the abdomen, hoping the body could recover from such extreme trauma, hoping infection wouldn't set in, hoping the cancer wouldn't return, hoping 12 hours of surgery was enough. Cook's family waited. 12 hours is an eternity when someone you love is on an operating table. Every minute feels like an hour. Every hour feels like a day. They didn't know if he would survive the surgery itself. Even if he did, they didn't know if he would survive the recovery. But Cook's body held, his will held. When he woke up, he was still alive. The first battle was won. This wasn't pressure, this was survival. Think about it. Cook spent his whole life believing the worst moment of his existence was missing a 2-foot putt, losing a golf tournament, feeling embarrassed and disgusted. But now he was on an operating table wondering if he would ever wake up. The 1992 Open Championship suddenly seemed small. The self-blame seemed ridiculous. The competitive scar tissue meant nothing compared to this. Cook survived the surgery. He woke up, he recovered. And then, incredibly, he went back to playing golf. He returned to the Champions Tour. He kept competing. The man who thought pressure was standing over a putt had endured 12 hours of radical surgery and lived. Here's the truth about John Cook. He isn't defined by the major he lost. He's defined by the life he refused to lose. The nearly man became the survivor. The guy who choked became the guy who endured. The competitive failure became a story of biological triumph. Cook had spent decades internalizing a single moment of weakness. He let it define him. He let it create psychological barriers. But when faced with real mortality, he showed a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't come from skill or talent, the kind that comes from refusing to quit when everything is on the line. The contrast is stunning. Faldo described the pressure at Muirfield as almost unbearable. Cook described his own mental mistakes as disgusting, but neither of them knew what real pressure looked like. Real pressure is lying on a table while doctors remove tumors from your abdomen. Real pressure is wondering if you'll ever see your family again. Cook's appendiceal cancer was insidious. It spread silently. It mimicked weight gain. It confused doctors. It required a procedure so rare that he was the first person at the hospital to receive it. And he survived. The recovery was long and painful. Cook had to relearn how to eat, how to move, how to function with a body that had been torn apart and stitched back together. Physical therapy, pain management, constant monitoring for signs of cancer returning. Every day was a battle, but Cook approached recovery the same way he approached golf, with discipline, with determination, with the understanding that success requires consistency. He followed every instruction from his doctors. He did every exercise. He took every medication. He showed up for every appointment. The same mentality that won him 21 professional golf tournaments now kept him alive. Months passed. Cook grew stronger. His body healed. The scans came back clean. The cancer was gone. He had beaten one of the rarest and most dangerous cancers in the world. He had survived a 12-hour surgery that many people don't survive. He had faced absolute mortality and won. And then, incredibly, he picked up his golf clubs again. The biography of John Cook is not a tragedy. It's a story of resilience. Yes, he lost at Muirfield. Yes, he never won a major. Yes, he carried that disappointment for decades. But he also survived one of the rarest cancers in the world. He underwent a 12-hour surgery with a survival rate that terrifies most people. And he came back. If you've made it this far, you understand why this story matters. It's not about golf. It's about perspective. It's about what really defines a person. So hit that like button if this story moved you. Drop a comment about what you think defines resilience. And subscribe because there are so many more stories like this that need to be told. John Cook continued his career on the Champions Tour after his surgery. He added to his 10 titles. He played the game he loved. He didn't let cancer take that from him. The man who once said he had a lot to prove because he let major championships go finally understood something deeper. Proving yourself isn't about winning tournaments. It's about fighting for your life and winning. There's a lesson here for everyone watching. The things we think define us often don't. Cook spent decades defined by a missed putt, a wrong club, a single stroke. He carried that burden like a weight around his neck. It created scar tissue in his mind. It made him feel disgusted and embarrassed every time someone mentioned the 1992 Open Championship. But when his appendix ruptured and cancer spread through his body, that burden disappeared. When doctors told him they didn't know how to help him, the missed putt meant nothing. When he lay on an operating table for 12 hours, the wrong club choice seemed trivial. The tragedy of John Cook isn't that he lost a major championship. The tragedy is that he let that loss define him for so long. The triumph of John Cook is that he survived something much worse and found perspective. Cook's story forces us to ask a hard question. What are we carrying that doesn't matter? What disappointments have we internalized as defining failures? What competitive scars are we letting control our lives? For Cook, it took a rare cancer and a 12-hour surgery to answer those questions. It took facing absolute mortality to understand that professional disappointment is just noise. The only thing that matters is survival. The only victory that counts is living. Today, John Cook is 68 years old. He survived Muirfield. He survived appendiceal cancer. He survived 12 hours of radical surgery. He's still here. He's still playing golf. He's still competing. And he's no longer the nearly man. He's the man who refused to quit. So here's the final takeaway. John Cook's tragic fate wasn't losing a major. It was believing that losing a major was tragic. His real fate was survival. His real story is resilience. His real legacy is showing the world what it means to endure. If this story changed the way you think about pressure, success, or survival, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because stories like this remind us what really matters. And I'll be here bringing you more of them every single week. John Cook didn't win the Open Championship, but he won something far more important. He won his life.